Season 4, If It Be You Will podcast. Season 4 has been so good. Such great artists. And what I've really enjoyed is reaching across our pond. I call it the pond. It's an ocean. And today, I have SJ from Dutch Mustard coming in from London, which is amazing. SJ, thanks for this beautiful coming and talking about you and what you do with Dutch Mustard. I must say that the tracks I've been listening to quite often, getting ready for this, are just really solid songwriting. So congrats on these releases. Thank You came out just, you said, 2 weeks ago. There's Loser out there. There's a couple of EPs out there, and we're gonna find out what else is coming down the pipe. So SJ, thanks so much for hopping on here.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here to have a chat with you about all things Dutch mustard.
That's right. Well, and before we hop into Dutch Mustard, what where did songwriting start to happen for you? Was this like high school, or did it come a bit later? And
There's even pre.
Amazing. So fill in those gaps for us, SJ. When did music really start to become something you knew you would never escape?
Well, I don't know if you've heard of the School of Rock.
Yes.
But when I was 8, I saw the School of Rock, and I was very much like a tomboy, and I saw Zach Mooneyham play that guitar, and I was like, I want to be Zach Mooneyham. So yeah, when I was 8 years old, I told my mum, please, can I get guitar lessons? And my mum said to me, if you can get yourself a guitar, I will provide the lessons. So I mean, it was tricky because mum was a single mum, so and I was 8. She obviously meant what she said, but she didn't think this a little girl, she's not gonna get a guitar out of nowhere. But I did. I saved money over Christmas and pocket money or birthday money, and I saved 40 euros because I grew up in the Netherlands until I was 10. That's where I'm originally from.
Okay.
And yeah, I went to the first the only guitar shop in the town that I knew of, and mum came with me, and we bought a classical guitar, and because we didn't know any better.
Well, I mean, it had to fit your budget as well, right?
Well, exactly. And yeah, 40 euros was all I had. So we got this little 3/4 size classical guitar, which I still have actually.
Awesome.
But yeah, started lessons from when I was 8 years old. And soon after that came singing. I think I joined the choir at the time. I didn't want to sing. I was like, no, I'm a guitarist. I don't want to sing. Singing is for girls. That's what I used to
think. Too much going on there.
As a young kid, I was like, oh no, singing is not cool. Guitar is cool. But I think I was just advised by the music school. They just said she can do it, and you can be part of the program or something like that. So that's sort of how I got into singing as well. And then I moved to the UK when I was 10 years old and continued guitar lessons, but in a very different way. It wasn't classical anymore. It was more some guy in the village ran a little studio, and he was going to teach me how to play rock songs. Cool. So from then I was like, great, because I didn't want to learn classical, which I regret now. I wish I continued.
How long, just in reference, did you take classical lessons for? When you first got
2 years.
Guitar? Okay.
So 2 years. So I was reading music when I was 8 to 10. Nice. And then moved to the UK, and then I was like, scrap that. I want to learn power chords and all this stuff.
Get me a distortion pedal.
Exactly. But now at an older age, or a little bit, I'm oh, I wish that I could read music like that still, but it doesn't matter. It went the way it went. And when I was 11, I started writing my own songs. And it was very young. I still have the recordings of it, because I had an iPhone, the first iPhone. And I think I used to record the ideas on the first iPhone, on the little voice note thing on my acoustic guitar. I had an acoustic guitar then.
And curiosity is sparking in me here. What do you remember your first song? What is about? What it was about? What inspired it? Let's get right into that detail, because that's going to inform us for the rest of this conversation.
Oh my gosh.
Go, SJ.
Okay, here it goes. Well, it was obviously a love song, and
Yeah,
I think it was about one of my first ever boyfriends or someone that I really, really
nice.
fancied.
Yeah.
And it was very cute, and the lyrics were very simple. But yeah, I guess like I was a little romantic from day dot
Nice.
and a
That's
lot of feelings.
yep. Yep. Got to
So
get them
yeah,
out. You got to get
yeah,
those feelings
gotta
out
get
there.
them out there somehow.
That's
So that was my yeah, my first song when I was 11
cool.
and you know what? I sang it at the school talent show.
Hmm.
I was 11 years old and I won the talent show.
Wow.
So I beat all the kids that were like 15, 16 in their bands and everything, of
Amazing.
singing my little song, you know? So hey,
I mean, obviously you would remember
as
that situation. Like, where did you find that bravery at 11 to go up on stage with your own song, your own music, your own lyrics, and like want to give that to everyone? Like, it
well,
takes a special kind of person to be able to have that drive to do that. No?
I think when you're a child and you've seen the School of Rock and Jack Black is like your god, you
You're
know, and he's
inspired.
up there in like a school uniform. You're like, I can do that too.
Amazing.
Yeah, I just felt like I did a couple performances at my Dutch school and at the Dutch music school, but that was more like just with the classical guitar because it was part of the like coursework to show like how far you were in the program or whatever. But
Mm.
yeah, like once I'd written my own song, I sort of knew like I just wanted to keep writing songs, and I guess like joining the talent show was like the only way at the time that I knew like that I could perform somewhere,
Right.
especially when you're
Yeah.
11. Like you can't really go to loads of gigs and stuff. So
That's
I was like, oh my God, this is an opportunity. Like I have to do this. So
cool.
since then, I actually at school I played in almost every school assembly, like once a week,
Wow.
for like 5, 6 years because I was music captain at school. Like I just loved it,
Mm.
and it was a way for me to, I guess, like practice and learn how to play in front of people.
Right.
So like I'm very grateful to my school at the time for letting me do that. Like so people would be walking in and I'd be singing my own songs, you know?
That's
So I was
amazing.
very,
That's
very young
amazing.
when I got into that.
That is
Yeah.
so cool. Like, you're right too. Like, it's really hard for an 11-year-old. I mean, I'd argue a teenager to practice in front of people and like kind of put yourself out there. I was talking with another artist who would do it in church, right? They would join the
Yeah,
church and they could sing with the choir, and it was like
of
the
course.
opportunity for them to sing. But school as well, there's a lot of opportunities for like talent shows
Yeah,
and assemblies, and as you were mentioning, did
yeah.
you always feel like you were destined for performing?
Yeah, I mean, when I was 10, I think we just moved to the UK. There was like a Disney Channel advert on the radio,
Hmm.
and I was in the car with my sister. I think mom had gone in the house to get something, and I was like, should we call them?
Hmm.
So I organized us an audition in central London, and we were living in Surrey at the time. And I was like, Mom, like, we got an audition. Like, I'm 10. Like, it's just what I wanted to do. But then after we got the audition, but we couldn't afford to go through with like the drama school and stuff.
Right, right.
But I was like, okay, cool. Like maybe I could get into acting. And I remember like around the same time that I applied for the talent show, like I applied to be in the school play and I didn't get it. Right.
Hmm.
And I was so deeply gutted that I was like, well, whatever, like that's not very punk rock anyway. And I just like continued to
I'm not playing any more songs to you guys.
that.
No
So I just
more. That's
continued.
no, I remember those school plays too, and like just as a teenager, any kind of rejection, or like, nah,
Yeah.
sorry, we're gonna go with someone else. It
It's
is gutting,
horrible.
hey?
I mean, it's still horrible. I work in film now as well, so it's
Right.
quite fun because all these years music is my thing, and now I was like, you know what, I'm going to try and branch out, and I actually managed to get onto Wicked, like the
Hmm.
new film that's coming out, musical,
Sweet.
and I sang and I had rehearsals,
Nice.
and the little child in me was like, you got it, at least you're in Wicked now. But no, I
That's
think
amazing.
music's just, yeah, it's always since a very young age been there for me.
Right, right.
Yeah, so I don't think that's ever gonna stop.
And actually, talk about your process a bit. I'm
Yeah.
always fascinated with singer songwriters, how they go about penning their songs from an idea to, okay, I want to put this down on tape.
Hmm.
Do you think that your process of writing songs has changed over time?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and how so? Can you kind of like paint that
Yeah,
picture for us?
absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So when I was a kid, I had my guitar and I would, play the chords and I would like write the lyrics and the melody like whilst I'm playing the guitar at the same time.
yeah,
And that sort of went on until I was about 17 because I didn't go to college. I went and I just was failing everything because I didn't want to
right,
be there.
right,
I did really well in school, like up until college, and then I just wanted to gig.
hmm,
So my tutors at college told me I could leave college if I had an apprenticeship lined up.
hmm,
So I found an apprenticeship in London and they were doing like in a studio, like sound engineering. I was like,
uh-huh,
okay, cool. I'm going to do that. So I
wow,
was 17 and I had my license. So I was driving up to London twice a week to do the education side because I missed out on the job side because it was too late in the year or whatever. But
right,
I learned how to use Logic
hmm,
when I was 17. And so I was used to obviously using my guitar and stuff, but through learning how to use a program like Logic, I was learning how to use like samples and like build beats and stuff like
right,
that.
right,
So I started to play around with like actually building tracks.
hmm,
And then when I turned 18, I moved to London and like I'd never released any music. I mean, I did actually, that's a lie. I released music when I was 15, but that's not out there anymore. Like that was folk pop, and that was very much done in the singer-songwriter way. Like I said, started with a guitar and singing,
right,
and then I had a producer come in and he got other musicians involved. So I didn't have much to do with the rest of the creative process other than
okay,
singing and playing the
right,
guitar.
yeah,
Um, but then once I was 17, 18, sorry, and learning how to build these demos kind of
yeah,
thing,
yeah,
I found a band and we started like they started playing the like in the ideas that I had
hmm,
on their instruments. And that was for a while a way that we were putting music together. We were more of a four piece at the time.
hmm,
And yeah, it was kind of like everybody had to have a bit of a say in something
right,
because they were all sort of part of the group. And I kind of felt like I had to be like lenient in that way because otherwise it wasn't fair,
hmm,
to be a group kind of thing.
right,
So
right,
we did used to earlier stuff like Weeping Willow, like the boys that I played with at the time, they have credits on writing credits on that,
hmm,
for the bits that they added and stuff. But since then, I realized in lockdown that it just wasn't like the music I was making wasn't cohesive or like
hmm,
it just wasn't the world that felt natural to me.
right,
Like I kind of felt like I was trying to recreate like the Smashing Pumpkins or
right,
Stone Temple Pilots or Queens of the Stone Age. Like it was very like hard rock, and I felt like you're because you're so excited as a teenager or Nirvana, like by your favorite bands, like
yeah,
sometimes you start to copy them almost.
right,
And I
right,
think I started to realize that that was not the way to go. So, and just like the way the band was, the relationships, like it just wasn't working, it just wasn't vibing in the right way.
hmm,
So I decided to continue it solo and demoed every aspect like of the track. So an interpretation of depersonalization, those five songs were
yeah,
chosen out of like 20 demos
okay,
that I put together in lockdown.
right, right,
And yeah, that was all written at home with like a little synth, like little keyboard, my bass, the drums I would program
yeah.
on the little keyboard, and then I had my guitar and a vocal mic,
Was
and that
was
was
that
it.
whole first EP like you from start to finish? Like the
Yeah, so
construction, the writing, like did you have any other minimal, it sounds like like not interference, like involvement in that first EP?
yeah, so with that EP, so I took it to a producer at the time,
Hmm,
he contacted me. He wanted to work with London-based artist, and I showed him the demos, and yeah, he basically re-recorded everything that I had done already. He helped a little bit here and there with like maybe a couple bits in the arrangement.
sure,
I think like on What the People Want, there was like a guitar, an extra guitar line that he did, and he played on a lot of it as well. But it was sort of stuff that I'd already written, if
right,
that makes
right,
sense.
yeah,
But yeah, and then yeah, but everything else
That's
was, yeah.
amazing. I was thinking too, like kind of as I was listening, that like, do you think COVID was an important happy accident in a way because it did isolate you and kind of not force you, because I know you wanted to do it, but
Mhm.
like gave you this time frame of like, okay, I have nothing else to do. I have to do this. I want to do this. Like, do you think it was a bit of divine intervention in the sense that maybe that EP wouldn't have happened without the influence of COVID and kind of that isolation?
Well, the EP would have happened, but in an entirely different way.
Hmm.
So I was already talking to this guy called Steve Milborn who runs a label called Bad
Okay.
Influence. And he was an artist manager for a long time. And basically, like I invited him to my show because his band was opening
Hmm.
for me. And he'd already told me that he was interested in working with me, but he wanted me to send him the tracks acoustically first and like all this kind of stuff. But definitely, like we were going to do an EP at some point.
Hmm.
And then lockdown came, like everything, like it just meant that I could step back and like really see every like my life and everything that was happening for what it was, but from
Hmm.
an outside perspective because I had the time to sit down. I mean, I was managing a bar at like 22, 21,
Hmm.
always working, drinking, and like
Hmm.
it wasn't a very healthy lifestyle, gigging like every week, like
Hmm.
rehearsing all the time. It didn't leave me much time to sit down and really think about like what the bigger picture was. Obviously, it was always the same thing, like working hard and get your music out there and like create a community and that's always been the same. But it was more like the way it needed to be done had to shift. And I
Hmm.
think lockdown helped me step back and really think about the music
Right.
and like where it comes from. Why are you making music? That's the
Hmm.
big one.
Right.
Like that was the big like
Right.
that was a whole thing. Like I had a vocal injury in
Hmm.
lockdown,
Hmm.
and that was caused from my lifestyle. It was caused from like past traumas, but yeah, mainly like drinking
Hmm.
and just working in bars, singing like in clubs and venues without a proper monitoring system,
Right.
and basically just being young and not really understanding
Just living
sound.
life, really, eh? Like
Yeah,
going
living life,
for it.
which
Like just going
yeah, which
for it.
is
Yeah.
amazing. But I also, I guess I didn't know, like I thought I had to drink.
Hmm.
I thought I had to get messed up and be like depressed or be really sad and
Hmm.
angsty and angry at the world to make music.
Hmm.
When I was actually fighting against myself because that's not who I am.
Right. Right.
I'm a very hopeful like person. I feel like I'm a very bright person. Like I'm quite happy-go-lucky and
Yeah.
I,
I think it's
I
reflected in your music personally. Like
thank you.
I think
Yeah,
it's
but I
very
mean if you
joyful and upbeat and
yeah,
like you want to be happy and you
exactly.
drink and go to a bar. Like it feels like that kind of like pull, like
Yeah.
yeah,
I
this is the
mean,
kind of music you have fun with, and
but I
it's
realized like by
yeah.
writing that there, like I was sober writing that,
Okay.
because
Right.
I'd lived like it sounds like I'm an alcoholic or something. I'm not like, but I'm a year sober now, but I ruined my voice and I had to
Hmm.
understand what's more important to you, partying or
Right.
making music.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think like over the last like 5 years, like since that happened, and especially in that moment of writing that first EP, it was all about like understanding that, like why are
Hmm.
you making music? Learning like your self-worth as an artist as well.
Right.
Like not only as a person, like we're not gonna get onto that. That's a whole nother podcast, but like as a musician,
For
it's
sure though.
hard. You're
Yeah.
looking up to so many other bands who are all
Yeah.
playing all the festivals, everything, and you kind of have to realize like, well, I'm not doing it because like I need to be like that person.
Right.
Like I'm doing it because of my reasons,
Mm-hmm.
and I
Mm-hmm.
realized that they were mainly like obviously bringing people together
Mm-hmm.
and like sending a message about like the things I was learning in my life, so about myself. And it's like, well, it's in yourself, it's in us, like,
Right.
and that first EP is really about that because I actually,
Mm-hmm.
the manager that was gonna take on this first EP didn't said he couldn't do it anymore
Mm.
because of lockdown. And when he did that, I decided to make like we did a live session of all the songs before they got signed with to the publishing deals. But before they got signed, I put them out onto YouTube. And I don't know if you've heard of a band called the Gang of Youths. They're like a big Australian
Yes.
guitar band. Very
Yes.
cool guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
They so there I met them through a guitar shop that I worked in on Denmark Street. But the guitarist started his own label in Australia. And he messaged me because he'd seen the live session
Hmm.
of the unreleased stuff.
Hmm.
And he was like, have you signed it to anyone yet? Because I would love to get involved. So what happened was
It's pretty cool.
I sent his contract to the other guy and said, look, I'm about to sign to an Australian indie label. Like, how do you feel about that? And then Steve was like, I'll send you my contract by the end of this week.
There you go.
And then like the
Amazing.
universe sort of, yeah, came together and
Good for
they
you.
both
Good for
signed
you.
it. They
That's
both
amazing.
did publishing. So I had Broth Records in Australia with Jochi, and he did Australia for that EP. And then Steve did like the rest of the world in the UK for it.
Well,
But that the whole writing process of that was like sticking it to the man because I was going, well, I'm trying not to swear here, but I was like, well, you
go
don't
for it.
want it. So like, I'm just going to do it anyway,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And I guess that in itself attracted, well, it wrote the songs.
Right.
Like, I don't even know if he knows
Wow.
this. I hope he's not going to listen to this. But like, the song that's like "We Are the Same," it's called "Something to You." The lyrics are like "We are the same."
Yep.
It's all about that, and like it's what the people want off that EP. It's
Right.
all about that. A song for
Right.
dreamers. It's all about like, well, like yeah, what the people want. It's just like, well, I'm doing it. I'm giving it what they want anyway. You don't want it, like the people want it, or like all
That's right.
that kind of stuff.
I mean, it's
Um,
amazing too that you found like that reflection that you just said where you realized that it wasn't about others, this journey that
yeah,
I'm on. It has to be about me or it would never sustain, right? Like it wouldn't sustain
yeah,
itself. And
no,
like some of that realization, I think it's one of the biggest ones I think that artists make or come to. And if
yeah.
they do, they can carry on, but if they don't, they often tend to dissolve into whatever and then they start doing their day job.
Yeah, because it's not authentic, right? I mean, that's
That's
the
it.
thing.
That's
Like,
it.
it's really hard. Like, obviously, I have influences and like people can hear it in the music, but I
Yeah.
think it's about the message.
Yeah.
Like, if the message is authentic and it means something and it's real, then that translates and that will connect to people. I mean, like in Loser, I never thought I was gonna sing a song that has a lyric, I'm just a loser with a broken heart. Like, I don't want the world to know that about me, but
But you were going
like,
you were going through stuff, like it's
and
like
I'm like, you know
process
what?
stuff. You
I was like,
gotta
dude,
get it out.
we all feel like that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not the only one, like, that's ever felt like that. And I was like, if I'm like, what, I'm gonna change the lyrics to try and like be cool. And I'm like, no, like, this is me. And I bet you people can connect to that because we are all the same.
Absolutely.
But yeah,
Absolutely.
that's the truth behind it. You just have to sort of, it's difficult because you have to learn, like, we all have our insecurities as people, but you have to learn to like understand yourself and
Yeah.
to understand that we just like we're the same because we're humans, but also we are authentic in ourselves because we're not built in the same way. Everyone
Right.
is unique,
Absolutely.
So
Well, we all
and
experience life in different
in a
ways and
different
different
way.
experiences and different people we meet and um I love your hustle. Like it's one of the things I try to describe to my kids, like when they're kind of like, you know, floundering, I'm like the art of the hustle is like it's something that you have to work on and do, but I feel this
Yeah.
this idea from talking with you just this short amount of time that you've caught on to it and like
Oh
you
my
don't let
God.
anybody else tell you what you can and can't do and nothing is limited. Like you really
Yeah.
have this world open to you and you'll do what you want to do and you'll find ways to do it and you'll find the people that will help you enable you to
Yeah.
and it's a skill that's we don't see in our younger people as much. And I'm talking
Yeah.
like teenagers now, and maybe it's the pandemic, maybe it's screen time, maybe who knows.
Yeah.
But
I
that
mean,
idea of going and being the master of your own destiny, um,
yeah.
it's not always present. And you're just like blaring it, which I love.
I think thank you so much. Like I'm really happy that you've said that. I guess I don't really like think about it because it's my day to day. I'm so used to living my
Right,
life this way. And I
right,
mean I work like 4 jobs to be able to release music, and
yeah,
I think I've grown up knowing like no one's gonna just hand it to you.
Mm,
Like my parents are always very good at being like, well, work hard and you'll achieve good
that's it.
things. But also like I had some horrible situations, but we're not gonna get into too much because they do happen too much to young artists. But
Yeah.
I did feel silenced for a long time from like my
Mm,
teens, until I was about 21, which was a big part of causing that vocal injury.
right.
And I
Right.
think I don't wish that upon anybody,
Right.
but I think like I had to learn how to speak from scratch.
Mm,
Like I couldn't talk anymore when I was
wow.
22, 23.
Wow.
So I had a year of speech therapy, and singing lessons and life coaching
Mm,
to be able to speak my truth.
yeah.
And so that's when that first EP happened, and that's sort of like what I live my life to now. It's kind of like, well, no, your voice, like it's all about your truth, your inner, like
Yeah.
your judgment, your core beliefs. You have to go with it. Like you can always take on people's advice. You can always ask people for help. You can always seek advice. I think that's perfect. I'm not saying like, I know everything,
Right.
but what we
Right.
do know about ourselves is our own intuition.
Mm-hmm.
And no one is going to tell you what to do. Like
That's it.
it's up to you, and you don't ever have to do anything you don't want to do. And I think that I'm in a position now musically where like my manager who I was working with for the last 3 years, he was really, really great and like
Mm,
helped me through a lot and like building my confidence, like as a producer even,
mm,
um, and just what I could do as a musician. And, like he was very, very helpful with that. But like it's taken a lot of work and
mm,
like inner work
yeah.
to be able
Yeah.
to listen to my own voice, you
Right.
know? So
Right.
like I think the younger generation, it's like, yeah, it's difficult because it's who you're surrounded by too, as well, like you're influenced by everything around you. And if
Mm-hmm.
you're constantly on your phone or influenced by things that aren't real, I suppose it's really hard to learn. Yeah,
Well,
I
you
don't know.
don't give much of yourself up in those opportunities either, right? Like
Yeah.
it's an
I mean,
easy way to kind of like sift through life, like where you don't give
yeah.
much, as
I mean, I
opposed
had a
to
job when I was
opening your heart
12.
up and saying, "Here
Yeah.
it is. Here's who I am." And yeah,
Yeah, it's difficult, but yeah, like I guess like working for your money is like it's a good way to start as a child, like doing
right.
doing the paper rounds. Like my brother
Yep.
did paper round. I was a babysitter when I was 12 and we
Yeah.
both worked cafes and
Mm,
like always on the hustle because that money meant that I could buy like new guitar strings or like like whatever it meant that you could like like build
yeah.
upon the things you want. So I
That's
think
it.
I mean that was maybe really helpful growing
Mm.
up, but yeah,
No,
I do have
I think so.
it'll
I think that we see it again, like I said before in your music, that I want to go back and listen to that EP now too, where they
yeah,
hear
now that you have a
all of
different
the
understanding.
big
Yeah.
lessons.
Yeah, yeah.
So SJ, kind of just to bring things to a close, again, this has been really fascinating. And your music is really, really good. The spirit and the soul behind it, the lyrics, it's hard to classify. I mean, there's some dream in it, there's shoegaze, there's alt rock, there's it's you, which is amazing. Um, what do you see happening down the road? Like, where does your next um mission or your next project leading you into 2024
Well,
through 24
we've got
25?
there's some really cool things happening. So I did a live session recently with Propeller Music, and that was through the FAC, which is the Featured Artist Coalition. They help artists like with opportunities like funding
Wow.
or live sessions, like any like events and networking events. And yeah, the two gentlemen that like work on that put me in touch with Propeller Music. So we did 4 songs with them and
Wow.
they're going to be on YouTube.
Yay.
So I think we did Feel Everything, Luther, Thank You, and Beauty. So that's coming out, I actually think in like a week or something, like
Oh,
quite soon in
awesome.
November.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then after that, I'm going to New York, bringing the band, and we're playing New Colossus Festival.
Yay.
So
That's
I have a
great.
lot of work to do
Yeah.
to save the money, but we're going to do it.
Awesome.
Depending on how much funding I can get together for it, we might try and get some other shows like outside of New York.
Okay.
But yeah, the new Colossus Festival is happening. That's in March. And then we've also been booked at I think it's called Leicester Val Sound Recordings to record some vinyl.
Wow,
And that's their studio in New York, and they
that's
yeah
so
work with
amazing.
artists to put together some vinyl, so of like a live session. So it'll be completely live. It'll be like super authentic and like the only version you'll ever get from it. It won't be digital. And yeah, we're gonna do that. I think 4 songs as well. Maybe more actually. He said I could do however many we want, so we'll see like how many we can get down. And then we've got we've got Icebreaker Festival in South Sea in England in February. And I am in talks with my team about trying to get a new single out in maybe like spring or June. Like it all depends because like I release under my own like label now.
Right,
So it depends like how much money I can get together from all my jobs.
right, right.
But if I can get it all together, then yeah, I'm hoping to release a new song, which I've been playing live already. So that's a little hint to the people that have seen us live because they would have gone, "What's that song?" There's one that I would have spoken about, and I said it hasn't come out yet. It's very
Let's.
energetic. It goes back to my what the people want kind of first EP
Okay.
roots. I think Iggy Pop might like that one.
Nice.
Um,
Nice.
and then yeah, like we're just trying to get and hopefully do a headline show like alongside that release. And if any more festivals come up, then of course, like we would love to like keep up with shows.
Right, right.
And I'm planning to start putting together an album.
Mm-hmm. Yay.
So that's towards the end of next year, I think, like having an idea of like what that's gonna look like, and either having it like organized for recording or maybe already recorded by the end of next year. I think that would
Wow.
be like a pretty good timeline to go with.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
You're
lots and lots of
a
exciting
busy
things
bee,
happening.
that's for sure.
I'm
That's so
tired.
great, SJ. I'm really
But
happy
you
for
know,
you.
Dave Satek told, thank you. Dave Satek told me on the phone this year, he was like, "Are you tired?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm tired." He was like, "Yeah, that's never going to change." And I was like, "Okay, good
That's
to
why you
know."
find those naps. Find the naps when you
Yeah,
can.
exactly. Exactly. I was
Well,
like, noted. At least I know I'm doing something right.
that's it. I'm really happy to know you're going to New York too, because it is such a great space for meeting and collaborating, and the music scene
Yeah,
is just amazing. So I'm sure you're going to meet amazing people there, and who knows what happens out of that. It's
awesome.
just like
Yeah, I've never been there,
that'll
so
be a door opened
yeah.
and never close it.
Yeah,
um,
absolutely. I'm so excited.
yeah, good for you. Good for you.
Thank
Well,
you.
this has been really fun talking with you. Um, Dutch
Yeah.
Mustard, SJ, amazing energy you have. Your music carries that energy. This has been such a great time, and I hope when the LP comes out eventually, you come back and we'll talk about it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Just stay in touch. Thank you
Amazing.
so much for having me.
That was great.
All
Thanks.
right.